Good afternoon. Today for our Science Read Aloud, we are going to be reading What is the Water Cycle by Ellen Lawrence. Young readers are already familiar with many stages of the water cycle. They just don't know it. Now remember this morning we were talking about the three purposes for a text. So we will continue to think about that as we read. Let's take a picture walk so you can already look for some clues that help you determine the author's purpose. I see some already. I see a heading, labels, I see a sidebar, bold print. Do you know what these would be clues for? More headings, more labels, a diagram. Another diagram. Another diagram. And I see science words, which is very similar to a glossary. So if I have all of these text features throughout the book, what do you think the purpose of this book is going to be? I think it's going to inform us or teach us some things. What do you think it's going to teach us about? Well, since my title was What is the Water Cycle, I think it's going to teach us some things about the water cycle. Let's look at our key terms and then we'll find out for sure. My first word is cloud. Cloud is a mass of tiny water droplets or bits of ice floating in the sky. Gas, matter that floats in air and is neither a liquid or a solid. Most gases, such as water vapor, are invisible. Now, we talked about gas this morning in our other read aloud and how it evaporates up into the sky, water vapor. Water cycle, the movement of water from Earth up into the sky to form clouds, and then back to Earth again. Water vapor, water that has changed into a gas. Water vapor rises and spreads out through the air. All right, and here it tells you how you can create the water cycle in your home. And you can most certainly do this, but make sure you do it with a parent and make sure that a parent has given you permission before you try. Okay? All right, so let's go back to the beginning of our book. And let's read what is the water cycle. An amazing journey. It's a hot day at the zoo. To cool off, a large elephant uses its trunk to suck up water from a pool. Then the animal sprays water all over its body. Some of the water falls to the ground and makes a big puddle. The water won't be there for long, though. The water is about to go on an amazing journey. Now, I want to look at the word journey. If I didn't know what journey means, the water is about to go on an amazing journey. I think that means it's going to go on an adventure or maybe a trip, because I've already taken a picture walk and I kind of see what the water's going to do. What do you think will happen to the water in the puddle? Water is a liquid. It can flow and take the shape of whatever it is in. That shape might be a bottle, a pond, or even an elephant's trunk. Disappearing water? What? As the sun shines, the puddle at the zoo gets smaller. Soon all the water is gone. Or is it? You can't see the water anymore, but it is still around. The sun's warmth has changed it into a gas called water vapor. Once the water turns into vapor, it floats from the puddle into the air. On a warm day, pour a cup of water onto dry pavement and quickly outline it with chalk. Check the puddle every 10 minutes and draw a new outline around it. What do you see happening? So this would be a good activity to do, especially during the summer. And as you can see, first the water spread out this far, but now it's right here. What is the water doing? It's changing into water vapor. It's beginning to evaporate. Liquid water changing into water vapor is called evaporation. This is the elephant's puddle. Now the puddle has disappeared. Up, up, and away. Soon the water vapor from the elephant's puddle has floated thousands of feet above earth. Up and up it rises, 1 mile, then 2 miles. It even passes a jumbo jet. High in the sky, the air is colder than on earth. As a result, the vapor gets cooler as it rises higher and higher. When the vapor cools down, it changes back into tiny water droplets. Water vapor changing into liquid water is called condensation. What do you think might happen to the water droplets now? Now, if you remember our read aloud from this morning, you will probably remember what begins to happen to those water droplets. Some of them stay water droplets, and the higher they go, they turn into what? They turn into ice crystals. Making a cloud. High in the sky, the tiny water droplets gather together around bits of dust. They spread throughout the air and join up with other droplets. When billions of water droplets join together in this way, they make a cloud. The water that the elephant sprayed from its trunk is now drifting miles above earth as part of some white clouds. And this shows a close-up view of water droplets. Clouds may just be 1 mile high above earth or as high up as 8 miles. So here you see clouds that are lower, and then of course there are clouds that are higher in the sky. Making raindrops. Inside the clouds, the tiny water droplets stick together to form raindrops. It can take 1 million tiny droplets to make just one raindrop. The wind blows the clouds across the sky. Now the water from the elephant's puddle is spread out high above earth and many miles from the zoo. These close-up pictures show a raindrop on a leaf and a snowflake. In what ways are they alike? In what ways are they different? If the air around a cloud is very cold, the water droplets freeze. They become tiny bits of ice that stick together and make snowflakes. This picture shows tiny water droplets joining together to make a raindrop. So here we have the droplets coming together to make one raindrop. Back down to earth. More droplets join the cloud, and each raindrop gets bigger and heavier. Soon the raindrops get too heavy to float in the air. So what do you think is going to happen once they're too heavy to float around in the air? Yes, and they fall back down to earth. The raindrops splash down into the ocean. Just a few days ago, some water drops were inside an elephant's trunk. Now they are part of an ocean wave. Nearly 3/4 of Earth is covered by ocean. As a result, a large amount of the rain and snow that fall onto Earth lands in the ocean. From a puddle to the ocean. Some of the water that the elephant sprayed has moved from a puddle to a cloud to the ocean. This movement of water is called the water cycle. Now that the water is back on Earth, it may someday go through the water cycle all over again. The water that landed in the ocean might go through the water cycle again within a few days, or it might stay in the ocean for hundreds or even thousands of years. How the water cycle works. So let's go to number 1. The sun's warmth changes water from the puddle into vapor. Remember, that's a gas. The vapor floats up into the sky. So this is the vapor. When the vapor cools down, it changes into water droplets and forms a cloud. When the droplets get big and heavy, what happens? They fall back down to Earth as rain into the ocean, most of them. Not always, though. But 3/4 of the Earth is covered in the ocean, so much of the rain does fall back into the ocean. And then the cycle begins all over again. Remember, a cycle is something that repeats. Just like a life cycle, the water cycle repeats. Again and again. All over Earth, water is moving through the different stages of the water cycle again and again. Water from puddles, rivers, the ocean, and other bodies of water changes into vapor. The vapor changes back to water, forms clouds, and falls back to Earth as rain or snow. The water might land in the ocean, in a lake, on a mountaintop, or in a garden. A few drops might even rain down on a zoo and splash into an elephant's pool. Make a list of places where you might see water. How many can you think of? When it rains, some water falls onto land and ends up underground because the ground soaks up water like a giant sponge. So, again, we have water in a pond. Water vapor rises to form clouds. Rain falls from the clouds, or snow falls from the clouds back down to the earth, and it falls into the lakes, into the oceans, or even onto the ground, and it gets soaked up. And then the cycle repeats again, boys and girls. The water that's on the ground or in the oceans or lakes evaporates, turns into water vapor, goes up, forms these clouds, and depending on where the clouds are, remember, the higher the clouds are, the colder it gets. So here we have snow, but the lower clouds, we have rain droplets that begin to fall. And it just keeps repeating, and repeating. Around and around. All the water on Earth has been here since the planet first formed. For billions of years, Earth's water has been going around and around the water cycle. The water that the elephant sprayed may have moved through the water cycle many, many times before. This time it moved from a puddle to a cloud to the ocean. Where will the water go next? Look for a cloud in the sky. Use your imagination to say where the water in the cloud might have come from. Tell the story of what might happen to it next. The water that the elephant sprayed may have once been in a lake where dinosaurs swam. All right, and that takes us back to our experiment that we could do at home. Now that I've read the book and I have pointed out many of the text features that we have, what is the purpose of this book? Yes, the purpose of this book is to inform. It is giving us information and teaching us about how the water cycle works. I hope you enjoyed.